Hey, what's up guys? DarkLogic here, and thank you for joining me for this review and discussion of Chapter 118, Foul Play. Sorry, I'm just listening to my voice right now, and I'm really sick, and I sound hilarious. But I'm gonna try to record this video because I really want to talk about this chapter. I apologize for how I sound right now, but I'm really excited about this chapter. God, my nose is so plugged up. And I'm a little bit delirious right now, but let's do this, okay? Now the reason I'm so excited for this chapter, a few things were revealed, or at least hinted at in this chapter that I've kind of been thinking in the back of my head for a while, and I kind of maybe predicted a long time ago, and I'm really excited that it looks like I might have been right, so that's always exciting. So anyway, I'm gonna try to power through this. I hope that my voice isn't too annoying. I hope I don't sound too gross. I feel really gross, but fuck it, dudes. Let's do this. Okay, so obviously before we get started, I gotta warn you guys that this video is gonna contain spoilers. So if you haven't read the manga, then what are you doing with your life? Seriously though, if you don't want spoilers, you might want to click on something else. If you're all caught up though, then let's get to it. So, Chapter 118. Foul Play. This is an awesome chapter. So in the first panel we see Zeke. He's popped up to save the day, or make things worse, depending on what side you're on. He's on top of the wall. He starts throwing boulders around. He's throwing him at the Marley blimps, and they're falling in Yelena. Oh my god, Yelena. Look at this crazy bitch. She's just like in awe. She's got her arms out, and she's like, oh, Zeke. My God, my Lord and Savior, hallelujah. And Maggot's like, shit, it's Zeke. So Peek's there, she's getting ready to shoot him. He throws some boulders her way. How rude. They were like BFFs back in the day. Such a douche, Zeke. There's Flock now. And I just want to say, it's so exciting to see him in the anime now. I don't know why, just something about seeing Flock in the anime, it's just getting me all geared up for all this other, all the shit that's gonna be happening in the upcoming seasons. Like, it's gonna be really weird and surreal to see the Marley arc animated. Because you guys know what happens. This story takes a whole crazy turn, obviously. That was like a punch in the stomach, man. That was crazy. I still think it's one of the best freaking twists that I've ever read. Anyway, Galliard's all fucked up, Reiner's all fucked up. Eren starts heading towards Zeke. They're all like, we gotta stop him, ah! Gabi and Colt are there, and she insists on going with him to find Falco. Now Falco is with Niall and some of the other military police people in a cell together. It looks like everybody who drank the wine now has these black armbands on them. Thankfully it doesn't look like any of our main characters drank any of the wine. I haven't seen any armbands on them so far. So speaking of our main characters, we cut to them, and Unyakapone has come to save the day. He's got the keys, he starts letting him out. And John's like, what's happening out there? He tells them and he's like, you guys gotta go help Eren. So they come out and Connie's just had enough. He's just super pissed. He grabs Unyakapone and pushes him up against the wall. He's really emotional. He's like, fuck this shit. Like, everybody has betrayed us. And fuck you too. Why should we believe you? Like, why should we do what you ask us to do? And then Armin's like, hold up. Let's hear what he has to say. Because Armin is a boss. So Unyakapone explains that he and the other volunteers had no idea about the euthanasia plan or the wine, and that he and the others genuinely came there to align with them and to help develop the island and make a future together, and that Yelena lied to them and he was afraid that if he ever even went against her, that he'd get his head blown off. And Armin says that he believes him because Armin is smart, and he points to something Unyakapone had said before, that everyone exists because someone wished for them to exist, including the subjects of Ymir, because it would be more interesting if different kinds of people existed, right? And he says, you showed that your stance completely opposes Zeke's ideology. You were always that kind of person. So Armin, can we just take a moment to appreciate Armin and his ability to read people and see through things to the truth? Like, Armin, this is why I love Armin, and I'm so happy to see him coming back and doing his thing, because he hasn't really done much for a while. And I love the fact that Armin, I don't know if anybody else has pointed this out before, but Armin is not only intelligent in a logical sense in that he can come up with these plans and stuff and put pieces together to solve these problems. But also, a large part of his strengths come from his emotional intelligence. See, Armin might be smart, but when it comes to seeing things completely objectively, he struggles a little bit because he is such a highly emotional character. But that high level of emotion also makes him very in tune to other people's emotions. And this is kind of shown back in Return to Shingeki when Armin, he couldn't come up with a plan because he was so emotionally overwhelmed by the situation. He had to rely on Jean, who is the more logical strategist. He's not as smart as Armin, but when it comes to certain situations, he's able to be more level-headed and see things objectively and figure out what to do from there. Armin can kind of let his emotions get in the way sometimes, and sometimes he misreads situations based on his assumptions about other people's emotions. For example, when he failed to manipulate Bertolt by bringing up Annie the second time, he assumed that Bertolt's reaction might be similar to his own in that situation because, as I said, Armin is a very emotionally reactive character, but Bertolt isn't as emotionally reactive as Armin is, so his attempt at manipulating him fails. But now it seems like Armin has really come to kind of hone and understand this skill, and he seems pretty confident in believing on Jakopon. So he takes on Jakopo's hand and he helps him up. John, he agrees with Armin, but he's like, what do we do now? He's like, if we help Zeke and Eren, won't the euthanization plan be executed? And then Jakopon's like, no, we'll impede the plan. But if those two are lost, then the island won't be able to protect itself from the world armies. And then he's like, we need to at least once let the world witness the power of the rumbling. Armin turns and asks Mikasa what she wants to do. And she's kind of doubting herself right now. She doesn't know what to believe, like if her feelings are her own or not. And Armin's like, no, it was just a lie. Like, he was just lying to us. She's like, but my head aches. Like, and why would he lie? And then Armin's like, come on, you guys. Like, this is Eren we're talking about. Would you say, why would he lie? He's like, Eren wishing for Eldians to become completely unable to have children? Do you guys seriously believe Eren would want that? And John's like, well, it didn't sound like him, but not impossible. And Armin's like, what do you mean it's not impossible? This is Eren we're talking about. Connie's like, then why doesn't he oppose Zeke and Yelena? And Armin explains that Eren had to go along with their plan in order to achieve what he wanted to achieve, what he needed to achieve. Like, he had no choice. So now here's what I'm talking about here. A long time ago, it was way back in the Marley arc, around the time that Eren was attacking Marley, I had made a prediction that Eren's plan, what he secretly wanted to do, was to provoke Marley and the rest of the world into attacking Paradis so that they can face them on their own turf, and then they could use the rumbling to wipe out their army.
Back down memory lane.
But why would Eren want to do this? Why would Eren want to incite an attack onto Paradis Island, on his own homeland, other than just speeding up the inevitable? Well, I think that's exactly why they're doing this, to speed up the inevitable. They know that Marley is going to attack them at some point, and they need to be ready, and they want to ensure that all of this happens before Zeke's tenure is up. We know it was Zeke's idea to go to Paradis Island this soon. He wanted to be involved in this operation, and I believe that it's because he has his own agenda, and since he's only got like a year left, obviously they would want to have as much time as possible to get their plan underway. But that still doesn't explain why they would want Marley to come to Paradis in the first place. You'd think they'd want them to keep them away from the island as much and as long as possible, but we know Eren and the Survey Corps are no 145th king, as was reiterated in this chapter. And we all know that the best offense is a good defense. And if there's one thing that Paradis Island has, it's a damn good defense. And considering the fact that Paradis Island is vastly outnumbered, to try and wage an offensive war on the Marleyan main continent would be suicide. It would be absolutely ridiculous. It would never work. So if the Survey Corps and the people on Paradis Island want to win this, they need to bring the Marley onto their turf. They need to get them on their playing field so that they have the advantage. And should this occur, once Marley send their military and their warriors to Paradis Island, they're going to be ready for them. They'll be prepared. And if they end up wiping out the Marley's military that they sent there and taking back the Titan warrior powers that they sent with them, then Marley because they're such a militaristic society and they depend on their army really to keep their country stable and keep other countries from invading them, that would essentially cause the Marleyan Empire to collapse. And from there, history would probably pretty much repeat itself again, as the other countries, which we know have kind of been laying in wait, wanting to pounce on Marley, because nobody really likes Marley either, they would start fighting with Marley and try and take them over, and then there'd be all this fighting. And then Paradise Island and the Eldians would just have to sit back and wait for them to all destroy each other and eventually rise up and revitalize the Eldian Empire, just the way that the freaking Tiber family and King Fritz did when they toppled the Eldian Empire before, as Billy was saying in this chapter. So essentially, if things go this way, the way that I think they might, then that would mean Eren would essentially fulfill his goal. He would free the Eldians from their oppression and maybe inadvertently also accomplish his father's goal of revitalizing the Eldian Empire and bringing them back into power like they used to be. So that would be pretty interesting if that all happened that way. And then that would bring us full circle and pretty much fulfill the theme of history repeating itself. I think maybe what's gonna happen is the characters, they're gonna try to change history, but they may find out that they can't, and that history is going to repeat itself one way or another, no matter what they try to do differently. And it looks like this might actually be what the case is, which is super cool. And it's Armin who's figuring it out, which is also super cool. Like, he points out that the timing is pretty convenient because all the world's armies are here. If Eren uses the rumbling and just awakens the few hundreds of titans in the walls of Shiganshina, and those titans would be enough to destroy all those armies. Basically, Eren has no intention of going along with Zeke's plan at all, but he needs to be able to use the founding titan power in order to defend the island. And he decided to do this on his own. He didn't want to involve anybody else for whatever reason, which is also the reason he was such a jerk to Armin and Mikasa a couple chapters ago. Now again, maybe Armin is wrong. Like I said, he's an emotional character. Maybe he's looking at this through the goggles of what he wants to believe, because he doesn't want to believe that Eren is really going to betray them. He doesn't want to believe that Eren is actually going to do this. There's also a lot of evidence stacked in his favor. For example, one thing I said a long time ago during the attack on Marley was I was speculating why Eren would do this, because one of the main things about Eren, one of his main traits that really drives him, is how much he values life. Eren doesn't like to see people die. He doesn't like to see people get killed. He wants to save everybody. Remember during the female Titan arc, all he could talk about was, we gotta go back and save everybody, like they're all dying back there. And Levi was like, no, we gotta keep moving forward, but do what you want to do. I'm not gonna stop you. And that's always been part of his philosophy, part of his ideology, and Armin understands that. He knows Eren better than anybody, right? So one thing that someone also pointed out was one line that we've always heard from Eren and from his mother is this line that says, it's something like, everybody is special because we were all born into this world. That line, we were all born into this world, basically saying everyone has value just because they're alive. Zeke's ideology is the complete opposite. He doesn't seem to find any value in Eldian life. He's essentially internalized all the racism that he's heard his entire life, and so he hates himself and everybody else who's an Eldian, and he wants to just get rid of them. For whatever reason, he thinks that he has the right to make this choice for all the Eldians in Paradise or Marley or otherwise, which obviously he doesn't. Nobody gets to force their beliefs on other people, especially if it involves people dying or just plain not being born. So, even though we got that chapter of Zeke's backstory, even though I kind of understand his perspective in some way, I definitely don't agree with him. I still think he's a big fat jerk. So, like, Zeke, if you don't like being alive, then just go jump off a bridge or something. Like, leave everybody else alone. Don't be a dick. Alright, so moving on. I definitely agree with Armin. Of course I do. I think he's totally right. And another thing, like when he started crying in the cell after Yelena explained their plan, I had a feeling that he was faking it. But, somebody pointed out something interesting though, is that maybe Armin was genuinely crying, but it wasn't because he was moved by Yelena's noble intentions or whatever. It was because he realized that that he was still their Eren. He hadn't changed as much as he's trying to make it seem like he has. And all those things that he said to them, that he had a reason for saying it, but he didn't mean it. And that was a huge relief to Armin. Because I can imagine him sitting in that cell really struggling to kind of figure out, like, why would Eren say that to me? Why would he say that to Mikasa? Why would he do this? Why would he punch me in the face, man? And then after hearing what Yelena was saying, it clicked, and he figured it out. And then he understood the true reason why Eren is doing what he's doing. And I guess just cried out of pure relief that his friend was still who he thought he was. Because before he knew what the goal was, it could have been anything. But since Yelena said this is what we're doing, and Armin knows Eren, like I said, better than anybody, he knows that Eren isn't going to be on board with that. There's no way. There's no way. So, and again, somebody else pointed out, he might have said that to Armin about Bertolt influencing him to warn him that he himself is being influenced by the Titans, and he's aware of that, and he's trying to let Armin know that he's not fully in control of himself. So, all this is really interesting stuff to think about, but let's move on. So, Jean makes an interesting confession. He's talking about Eren, he's like, that bastard. He's like, I've been saying ever since we were trainees that this guy was dangerous. Eren is leading us straight into hell. A real piece of shit, that guy. He's like, I envied him because he was so damn cool. It irritates me to no end, but I don't want that guy to die yet. And then Connie's like, if he kicks the bucket now, I won't be able to sock him later. Now Nyakupon's like, let's go. We're releasing all the soldiers who got locked up. And so they release everybody from the cells and they get ready to fight. And as Armin and Mikasa are running, she's asking him, why is Eren hiding his true intentions and abandoning us? Telling me he hated me. Why would Eren say something like that? And then there's some interesting panels when Armin thinks about that moment when they saw the ocean and how Eren was just pointing out towards the sea. And if you remember that scene, it was pretty bittersweet. It was kind of heartbreaking because Eren just wasn't super interested in the ocean itself. You know, Armin was kind of trying to share in this moment with him, this dream that they've had since they were kids, and all Eren could think about was getting to the enemy. And it looks like Armin realizes something. He says, no way. But it's not really clear what that is, at least not to me. Maybe you guys have a better idea of what's going on here. If you do, let me know in the comments, because I don't really know what this is supposed to mean unless Armin is thinking that because of Eren's reaction to the ocean, that's a sign that he really has changed and that he might be wrong. But again, that's something he doesn't want to believe. If that's the case, if that's the intention of these panels, then I think that's super interesting because Armin is having a moment where he's kind of doubting himself. He really wants to believe that Eren is still the person that he used to be, and that Eren has this secret plan that he's wanting to accomplish all on his own to save everybody on the island. But then he thinks about that moment at the ocean and the way Eren didn't really care, like that they had fulfilled their dream. And Armin, he's sitting there crying. He's like, look at this damn seashell, man. But Eren's just like in some other place. And that to me, like I talked about that scene quite a bit way back when it happened. And I made a note of it back then that this was not a good sign for Eren. It really shows that he has been changing a lot, even over the course of that 1 year before they got to the ocean. And Eren wasn't faking back then. You know, he didn't have some supposed plan up his sleeve or some other reason to do that. That was his genuine reaction to seeing the ocean for the first time. And that's ringing some bells in Armin's head a little bit, and he's thinking about that, and he's going, uh-oh, you know, maybe this is happening. Maybe my worst fear has come true. So I'm gonna be really sad for Armin if that turns out to be the case, because as we know, Armin isn't always right. You know, he's a genius, but he's made mistakes. Grave mistakes. But haven't we all? But he tries to reassure Mikasa. He's like, you know, the headache thing, he just used that to make the lie more believable. You know, he knew that ever since we were kids, that you had these headaches. You know, he forced himself to lie. We can ask him to explain when it's all over. And Mikasa's just like, yeah. But she's pissed. She's obviously pissed. So they're off. The Yagers try to get in their way, and they're like, you best move your asses or we're all gonna die. So everyone's getting ready to fight. Pixis is talking to everybody, telling them what they're gonna do. Basically, everybody who didn't drink the wine They're gonna go out in the maneuver gear as many as they can, and everybody else who did drink the wine are gonna follow Pixis to the front line, which I guess is probably the best thing. They go out there and fight. If they get turned into titans, they're on the battlefield. They might be mindless titans, but maybe they can still impede the enemy somehow. But at least if they turn into titans out there, there won't be any risk of harming any civilians, and they might be able to actually help fight still somehow. So we see that girl there, that girl that's kind of obsessed with Mikasa, who she saved when she was a kid in the first season, and she sees her put her scarf down, and she asks her if she's leaving it behind. And Mikasa's like, yep. So obviously this is a big thing for Mikasa. She's been wearing this scarf ever since Eren put it on her when they were little kids. And so she's pissed. She's pissed at Eren. Like, I think that she's probably thinking, if Eren is lying to them, then why did he have to do that? Why couldn't he be honest with them? Why couldn't he involve them in his plan? That's probably what she's thinking. Like, why didn't Eren trust me? Why didn't Eren trust us? Like, he should be able to trust us. I can imagine Mikasa having all those feelings. But Armin seems to understand, though. He gets it. So they're all geared up. They go outside, and Yelena's sitting there, being her crazy-ass self. She's watching the blimps go down. And she's like, the moment that's going to change history is almost here. She's so crazy. Connie's like, do you guys even need our help? And John's like, why is Zeke here? And he asks about Levi and Hanji. What happened to them? And Yelena's like, I don't know. I guess they got killed. Oopsie daisy. Connie's like, bullshit. And then Armin puts on his Oscar-winning actor face. And he's like, come on guys, let's help the Jaeger faction save the world. And then Yelena comes up behind him. And we get this fucking amazing panel of her terrifying ass face. What the hell, Isayama? Like, like when I saw this panel of Yelena standing over Armin, staring at him like that, I was like,
get away from her, you bitch!
Run fast. And then it changes dramatically to a very different expression, and she's like, please help Eren and Zeke. I trust you, Armin. I don't know. I feel like Yelena might be a little bit suspicious of Armin. She's not stupid either. So we get back to Gabi and Colt, and guess what? He is finally reunited with his little brother Falco, thanks to Nile. We've got all this chaos going on around them. When they first see them, he's really on edge. He's getting ready to attack Nile. But Gabi's like, wait, don't do it. And then they come up and Nile hands Falco over to Colt, and he says this is not a place for children. Go back home. So they run off. Falco turns and thanks him, and he waves to them, and then, aww, Colt and Falco are finally reunited. Yay! Then Colt turns to Gabi and asks her why she trusted the enemy. And she's kind of like, I think right now is the moment that she's having that epiphany that we all were waiting for her to have. So Sasha's family are walking by and they overhear them. The mom asks about Mia and Ben, of course, which is the names they were using before. Sasha's dad is like, I'm sure they're okay, they're strong. And then the girl is like, why do you even worry about them? The people who killed my sister, I can't forgive them. I want to kill them. And Gabi hears this and she's like sad and remorseful. And she finally says, there were no devils on this island. There were only people. Finally, I understand Reiner's feelings. These people that we had not even ever seen, all of them, we decided they were devils. In the airship, I climbed up and always the same thing, repeating, always the same thing. She seems like she's going a little crazy. She says, I'm sorry, Falco. Even though you understood, I dragged you into this. And he looks at that black armband. And then Falco makes a couple confessions. He says, I supported the attack on Liberia. Without knowing that the wounded soldier in the hospital was Eren Jaeger, I kept sending his letters to his comrades from a post box outside the district, and so many were killed in Liberia. So he tells them that he was the one who was delivering Eren's letters, who helped him coordinate the attack. And he says, so Udo and Sophia died because of me. Aww. And Gabi looks down and she just says, oh. And then Falco's like, also, I like you. And he tells her he became a warrior candidate, so she didn't inherit the armor titan, and so she could live a long life with him and marry him and be happy. He's like blushing and he frowns and she's like, why are you saying all this? And he's like, well, I might become a Titan, so now I don't have anything left to say. I've said everything I need to say. And he starts tearing up, and Gabi reaches over and pulls the armband off, and she's like, let's go. And Colt says, if Zeke knew you ingested the spinal fluid, that might prevent him from screaming. Falco's like, yeah. So we're back to our main crew. They're taking a lot of heavy fire. The Jaw's going after Eren again. Zeke's throwing more boulders. Zeke's looking down at Eren, and he's like, Eren, it's almost time. Just a little bit more, and our dream will come true. A little bit more. Zeke, you're a freak. That's all I can say. Zeke's a freak. Hey, that rhymes. Maybe I should write a Dr. Seuss. He looks over and sees that the cart Titan is evaporating, and he actually assumes that Peak was defeated. Really, Zeke? Really? Come on. You know Peak. You know her. She is smart. She is obviously trying to distract you. So while they're trying to figure out who killed her, nobody did. The Marley soldiers pop out and start shooting. And we see Peak, she's out of her Titan, she's underneath the cannon, and they fire. And they hit Zeke. They don't quite kill him, but they blow off a good chunk of him. Dang, Zeke, you're gonna have to call up that girl with the bucket again if you keep going like this. So Eren sees that, he's like, uh-oh. And Yelena's like, no, Zeke! She's seeing him falling off the wall. Peak's hoping that they killed him. Nope. They can't get another shot. And he's still alive. But if he wakes up again, he will shout for sure, it says. So you might have just fucked everything up, Peak. I don't know. What do you guys think? It all hinges on Eren now. Did Eren really change? Does he really want to go along with Zeke's euthanization plan? Or is it like Armin believes and Eren is just going along with this because it's the only way that he himself can get access to the Founder's power in order to awaken the Wall Titans in Shiganshina in order to wipe out all of the other armies that are coming to destroy them so that they can protect the island? What do you think Eren's gonna do? It's all up to him at this point. Definitely don't agree with Zeke, but he's certainly an interesting character, to be sure. Alright guys, I'm gonna wrap this up now. I hope you enjoyed this review and discussion of Attack on Titan, Chapter 118. If you did, please leave a like and a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. And I will see you next time. Peace.